The movie starts with a stylish man named Taegu at a hospital. He's there to pick up his older sister, Jae-kyung, who just finished getting special care at the hospital. Taegu also meets his niece, Ji-eun, at the hospital. When Jae-kyung sees her brother, she gets a bit upset because Taegu looks thinner. She asks Taegu to keep his promise of leaving his involvement in illegal activities, as she's really worried about his safety. Jae-kyung and Jun then get into a car driven by Taegu's people, and they're taken to Taegu's place to rest while he handles things at the hospital. Later on, Taegu goes to see the doctor, who's been treating his older sister. The doctor tells him that Jae-kyung's health is getting worse, and it's unlikely she'll live much longer. Hearing this news, Taegu becomes very sad and frustrated because he wasn't prepared to lose his dear sister. While he's at the hospital, Taegu gets a call from his men who are dropping off his family. But unexpectedly, the phone call gets disconnected. Next, the story moves to the highway, where we see Jae-kyung and her daughter Jun's car in a really bad shape because of an explosion. Sadly, both Jae-kyung and Jun passed away right there, and Taegu's guys had to go to the hospital because they were seriously hurt. Taegu got the message and hurried to the scene. When he learned that his older sister and niece had died and he was now all alone in the world, he looked completely shocked and devastated. On the day of Taegu's family's funeral, his boss, Mr. Yang, comes to offer his condolences for Taegu's sad loss. Both Taegu and Mr. Yang believe that the ones responsible for the deaths of Jae-kyung and Ji-eun are their rivals, the Buksong gang, led by a man named Chairman Do. In the past, Chairman Do had tried to recruit Taegu because he was impressed by his skills, but Taegu stayed loyal to Mr. Yang and turned down the offer. That's why Taegu's family was killed in revenge. Taegu asks Mr. Yang to set up a meeting with Chairman Do because he wants to get revenge. Mr. Yang agrees to help Taegu and says he'll support him in seeking revenge against Chairman Do and the Buksong gang because he also has issues with them. Afterward, Taegu and Chairman Do finally meet at a sauna, and without hesitation, Taegu seriously injures him. At the same time, Mr. Yang tells his men to attack the Buksong gang's main place and go after the most dangerous and respected person there, besides Chairman Do, a man named Director Ma. Once Taegu gets his revenge, Mr. Yang tells him to go to Russia. But before that, he suggests Taegu hides on Jeju Island for a week. There, he can stay at the place of someone he knows, a guy named Kudo, who deals in weapons. When Taegu reaches Jeju Island, a girl named Ji-yeon, who happens to be Kudo's niece, comes to pick him up. Ji-yeon is a rather indifferent and impolite girl who doesn't treat people well. Meanwhile, in another location, Kudo seems to be involved in an illegal arms trade with a group from the Busan gang who plan to sneak these weapons into Japan. Not much different from his niece, Kudo is also quite cold and unfriendly towards others, including his business partners. Finally, Taegu gets to Kudo's place, where he receives a similarly unfriendly welcome as Jae-yeon's. Kudo asks how long Taegu will be staying because he doesn't seem to appreciate Taegu's presence. Taegu explains that Mr. Yang told him to escape to Russia. When Taegu mentions Vladivostok, Jae-yeon seems irritated and her attitude towards Taegu becomes a bit harsh. Meanwhile, Mr. Yang got some news. It turns out that Director Ma escaped the attack, and even worse, Chairman Do didn't die from Taegu's serious attack. Chairman Do is now in the hospital getting medical treatment. Before long, Director Ma called Mr. Yang and warned him. He threatened to seek revenge in a much harsher and deadlier way. Facing such a threat from one of the most brutal and feared criminals in the underworld, Mr. Yang got really scared. His attack on the Buksong gang had failed badly without Taegu's leadership and effectiveness. The next morning, Taegu sees Ji-yeon practicing shooting and is impressed by her skills. Later on, Ji-yeon points the gun towards her own head, like she might do the unthinkable. Taegu panics and tries to stop her. Fortunately, the gun was empty, so Jae-yeon doesn't harm herself. She then leaves without saying a word, leaving Taegu surprised by her odd behavior. Director Ma carries out his threat against Mr. Yang. First, he brutally kills one of Mr. Yang's men and sends parts of his body to Mr. Yang. Because of this, Mr. Yang asks Mr. Park, who is the vice chairman of the organization overseeing the Buksong gang and other crime groups, to arrange a private meeting between him and Director Ma to settle their dispute. One day, Taegu finds Jae-yun unconscious in a car. Kodo, who knows about this, quickly takes the girl to the hospital. Kodo then tells Taegu that Jae-yun is very sick and doesn't have much time left. Feeling really sad about her illness, Jae-yun has tried to end her life several times. Thankfully, she can still be saved. Kodo is planning to take Jae-yun for treatment in another country because her chances of living longer are much better there. But bringing her to the United States and covering all her medical bills is very expensive. Mr. Yang and director Ma finally meet in a private meeting, with Mr. Park as the go-between. However, Director Ma refuses to make peace with Mr. Yang because the attack carried out by Mr. Yang and his gang was a big insult to the Buksan gang, and he can't accept it. Even though Mr. Park threatens him seriously, Director Ma doesn't pay any attention. Especially now that Chairman Do is in the hospital, Director Ma, as the second-in-command, has full control over the Buksan gang, so he can make his own decisions. Meanwhile, Jae-yun, who woke up from her daze, leaves the hospital. Taegu then drives her home, but on the way, she asks him to stop at a diner. They have lunch and a drink together. Jae-yun becomes friendlier towards Taegu, and her attitude softens compared to before. While Taegu is heading home, he gets a call from Mr. Yang. Mr. Yang tells Taegu that their plan to kill Chairman Do and take down the Buksan gang didn't work out. He says he's on his way and intends to escape to Russia with Taegu. But it turns out that Mr. Yang tricked Taegu. He betrayed Taegu and shifted all the blame onto him to save himself. Jae-yun is curious and asks Taegu why he ran away to Jeju Island. She thinks Taegu is a coward for running away from his mistakes. Meanwhile, Kodo goes back to dealing with illegal arms trades with the Busan gang. However, the Busan gang betrays Kodo and attacks him with the help of Russian gangsters. It seems they did this on Mr. Yang's orders. Kodo tries to fight back, but he's outnumbered and, unfortunately, he dies. At the same time, Taegu and Jae-yun finally reach the house and hear gunfire from the weapon storage area. They get into a fight with the Russian gangsters guarding outside before they can enter. When Jae-yun discovers her uncle is dead, she immediately shoots the Busan gang members, killing them. Taegu grabs the bag with the weapons and quickly takes Jae-yun away from there. Taegu and Jae-yun then go to the home of one of Kodo's relatives, who warmly welcomes them. That night, Jae-yun opens up to Taegu about her difficult past. She lost both her parents when she was a teenager, and they were killed by Russian gangsters. That's why Jae-yun strongly dislikes Russian people. After her parents passed away, Jae-yun lived with Kodo, who took good care of her like a real father. Back when Jae-yun was living with her parents, she didn't like her uncle, who was involved in the arms trade. Later on, Jae-yun tries to make Taegu want to sleep with her. However, Taegu turns her down, explaining that Jae-yun isn't his type. The following day, Taegu gets a call from Mr. Yang. Mr. Yang says he's coming to Jeju Island and asks Taegu to pick him up at the airport. Taegu then invites Jae-yun to have lunch and enjoy the beautiful sea and beach. During this time, they grow closer and understand each other better. As Taegu is about to leave for the airport, Jae-yun inexplicably stops him, as if she senses something bad might happen. However, Taegu tries to reassure Jae-yun that everything will be okay, and that he'll come back to see her. At the airport, Mr. Yang and Director Ma are already there when Taegu arrives. Just before meeting Mr. Yang, Taegu gets a call from his partner, who tells him about Mr. Yang's betrayal and their plan to kill him. It turns out Mr. Yang not only betrayed Taegu, but also all his henchmen who were part of the attack. Taegu's partner, who informed him, is then killed by Mr. Yang. Taegu spots Director Ma at the airport and quickly runs away, with Director Ma's henchmen chasing him. They have a long chase on the highway, but Taegu's escape is halted when his car crashes into a road divider. Director Ma's henchmen catch up and try to harm Taegu, but he fights back and manages to get away in another car. Taegu rushes back to get Jae-yun, but she's already on her way to Kodo's house. He tries to warn her to leave immediately, but she doesn't listen. Mr. Yang contacts Taegu, trying to explain why he betrayed him. However, Director Ma takes the phone and orders Taegu to come see him, threatening to harm Jae-yun, who is now his hostage. Jae-yun tells Taegu to leave and not to save her because she believes she's going to die soon anyway. But Taegu is determined to save her and doesn't care what she says. When Taegu arrives, Director Ma's men immediately attack and beat him up. Later, they bring Taegu in front of Director Ma, who reveals that Mr. Yang, not Chairman Do, was the one behind the murder of Taegu's older sister and niece. Upon hearing this, Taegu becomes very angry and violently attacks Mr. Yang. After a fierce fistfight between Taegu and Mr. Yang, Director Ma steps in to rescue Mr. Yang and kills Taegu. They set the place on fire with Taegu's body inside, leaving Ji-yun, who witnessed Taegu's death, in shock as she stares at the flames. Jae-yun decides to seek revenge. She goes to Director Ma's headquarters and eliminates his henchmen. Then, she shoots Director Ma and Mr. Yang, killing them. Once it's all over, Jae-yun goes to the beach and smiles happily, while police sirens are heard in the distance. The movie ends. So the moral of the story is never trust a stylish man at the hospital, especially if he's involved in illegal activities, where you might end up on a wild and deadly adventure like Taegu and Jae-yun.